विजयं कृष्ण राज्यं इंद्रो राज्येन गोविन्द इंद्रोगै जीवितेन वा येषामस्ते काङ्क्षितं नो राज्यं भोगा सुखानि च तैमेव स्थिता युक्ते प्राणान्त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्या पितरः पुत्राः तथैव च पितामहाः मातुला श्वशुरा पौत्राः शाला सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान् हन्तुमिच्छामि नतोऽपि मधुसूदन त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य हेतो किन्नुमधिकृते निहत्य धातराष्ट्रान्नः का प्रीतिः स्यादनादन पापमेवाश्रयेदस्मान् अद्वैतान्नाथतायिनः तस्मान्नाथा वयं हन्तुं धातराष्ट्रान् स्वबान्धवान् स्वजनं हि कथं हत्वा सुखिनः स्याम माधव यद्यप्येते न पश्यन्ति लोभोपहतचेतसः कुलक्षयकृतं दोषम् मित्रदोहे च पातकम् कथं न ज्ञेयमस्माभिः पापादस्मान् निवर्तितुम् कुलक्षयकृतं दोषम् प्रपश्यद्भिर्जनार्दन कुलक्षये प्रणश्यन्ति कुलधर्मा सनातनाः धर्मे नष्टे कुलं कृष्णं अधर्मो विभवस्तुत
Quite a few questions that I am bombarded with from last week's discussion. The last week's discussion went on around the theme of relationship. Because Arjuna is so confused about the nature of relationship, I was trying to explain what constitutes a relationship, what goes into a relationship, and I was trying to be a little bit scholarly and I said certain things. And as I am saying all this, I don't expect anyone to take all this so seriously also. And when they take it seriously and they ask clarifications, now I have to sit and refresh all that I read. And he is continuing the same trend, because the next few verses also is continuing with the same concept of what is the relationship and understanding the nature of what relationship means. The law I said always it is the truth that the starting point of every relationship, you don't start with any relationship. Relationship is relationships are always acquired. You are not born with any relationship. You only acquire it. First thing, you only acquire a relationship. You are not born with any relationships. It's a law. Might be very difficult to accept it. Maybe our conditionings might not allow us to agree to this, but nevertheless this is the law. But we have father, mother, brother, sister. No, sir. How can you say that? How can you say that this father, mother, brother, sister? That's what Arjuna is also confused about, and he is also carrying the same confusion. Anything acquired will be lost. It's a law. Anything acquired will be lost. Acquired means that which was not yours, unnecessarily you went and unnecessarily you created a minus over it. Unnecessarily you created a minus over it, and then anything acquired will be lost. So they say it's loss of relationship. It's not loss of a relationship. It's loss of something that you have acquired. Anything acquired will be lost. It's the law. You cannot change it. Anything acquired will be lost. Therefore, it's not relationship that you lose. What you lose is your acquisition. 3. Relationship gives a wrong notion of ownership. Relationship gives a wrong sense of ownership. The moment you own something, the other turns into a machine, a tool in your hand. Ownership. Relationship implies ownership. Ownership means you believe that it is yours. You actually think it's yours. Whereas it came halfway through. How do you say it came halfway through? Is because it is acquired. It is acquired. A simple example I will give you to explain this. The first stages, when the child is hungry, what the child does? Don't say cry, language la, it started to use language now. What the child says? It will point to the stomach and says, this is hungry. You will say, what? This is hungry. Say, you teach. What? Say, I am hungry. The child says, because what is actually in hunger? What is actually in hunger? The child says it very clearly. Unnecessarily we go and confuse the child. The child points to the, have you ever seen it? Have you ever observed it? I think some of your child also would have said it. It will only point out here. Because what's hungry? The eyes are not hungry, the nose is not hungry, the ears is not hungry, it is only the... And then you say, no, what? This is hungry. Stomach is hungry. What stomach is hungry? Say, I am hungry. By this constant bombardment of I, you acquire. What you acquire? What you acquire? What you acquire? Mindness you acquire. 10 times you say, I, you develop a sense of ownership. Ownership has developed. At the moment you develop the ownership, then everything will look so real. After that, all this knowledge will not help. Don't worry. Yeah. Since we are at that stage, what we are supposed to do? Just listen to these classes So something once in a week, let us do something good also, you should forget. Relationships. It is that which is acquired will be lost. The first few moments, the first few hours, for some a few days also, they give birth to their own, whatever they call as their own child, it will appear as a stranger. The girl gets married and walks into the man's house. Literally it will take hour and a half, 2 years for her to actually feel as though she is part of that. 98% they don't feel as part at all. They continue to live. Most of them they don't feel they are part of that, because it is only what is the reality here. But we don't have the courage to face the reality. We cover it up using flowery words by saying relationship. The moment there is a relationship, another problem comes, obligation. The moment you say relationship, that which naturally follows a relationship is obligation. If relationship is not enough trouble, obligation is much more troublesome. A time comes where everyone screams on top of their voice, internally, sometimes outside also. But enough of relationships, enough of obligations. Arjuna is screaming now, saying, enough of, let us go away. Then what is this father, mother, brother, sister? The nature of the body is to produce another body. It's biological. One body produces another body. That's all. There is no mindness in that. There is no relationship. There is no relationship there. But we developed this relationship because of, it's more of a social necessity. We developed all this because of more of a social. Why it is a social necessity is because all species, more or less, they know how to carry themselves, how to live. They don't need to really create anything, do anything for their living. The cows need not sit and do farming to get anything anything that is green, it will eat and survive. You understand that? Herbivores, carnivores, they also need not sit and do anything for whatever herbivores are going catch and eat. Therefore, their life is so completely, and human lives are so completely different. Why human lives are so completely different is because a human being necessarily has to do everything for his survival, for his living. Since we have to do everything for the survival, living, we have to live as a group, and that group is called family, society. He goes on saying, my kula, kulam. So, next 5-6 verses is the same word he goes on. Kulakshay, mitra drohi, what all he is going to say. Why this is created is more of a social. There is no relationship in the way that we have understood relationships. Is it okay till now? Then I'll go to what is this father, mother, brother, sister. Huh? Minus is acquired. Yes. How do you? Since you have acquired, you only have to get rid of it. Minus has not come to you from. Minus didn't come to you from outside. You acquired it. That's where any amount of attempt by anybody outside of you to get rid of your minus will not work at all, because it is your creation. If you are so determined to get rid of your minus, anybody, no one around you has the power to stop that also. So nobody can stop you from getting possessive. No one from outside can help you to get rid of it also, because it is whose creation? It is that individual's creation. You follow what I am saying? It is that individual's creation. I can't hear. Yes. 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 All that is acquired will be lost. I worked so hard, study, go to school, go to university, go to PhD, this, that, gain everything, all this is acquired. Before I go, loss of memory, no? What is that? What is that called? Dementia. What is that another thing called? Amnesia, selective amnesia. Alzheimer's. Because these words I don't know how to pronounce only. Yeah. Alzheimer's. Where you don't even know your own. Where you won't even know your own. Your own name you forgot sometimes. Yeah. When you forgotten your own name, what about Kitan? Kin. I remember one of the grandfather, 100. He died at 102. He died 102. He died. So his 100th thing was celebrated like one big mela, as though he achieved something so extraordinary by living 100 years. And my father said, "Hey, you go," he said. Okay. I said, anyway, I have agitated him so much in my entire life. I thought at least now I can do something to keep him happy. I went there. And that man is lying on the cot. Doesn't even know that it is his 100th birthday. People around him, someone going to his ears and saying, he has come, and he is looking at me blank. And then he has to say, you had a father, you had a mother, you had 3 brothers. Of that third brothers, and that third brother had 5 children. They didn't have 5, 2. Of that, he is that, and his grandson had come. 5 minutes introduction. I was like, I couldn't control my laughter, but I have to stand there very carefully. All that is acquired will be lost, full stop. You cannot do anything about it. Now comes the knowledge. As you are living in it, if you understand that you are going to lose it, you become free of that. As you are living with it, as you are living in it, if one part of you, if it is aware that it is all this is acquired, all that is acquired will be lost. What will happen? You become free now. Not that you will get scared. Not that you will be worried. If you are worried, scared, you have not understood it correctly. You follow what I am saying? All acquisitions will be lost. It's a law. Sorry, I didn't say that. I am only saying what is What is happening? However I wish, it doesn't. At least for my daughter, at least in the law land, ஏதாவது ஒரு exception கிடைச்சா நல்லா இருக்கும் இல்லையா? I can also think like that. But the law says what? Anything acquired will be lost. And everything is acquired. Because who you are essentially. Down the line everything is acquired. Essentially you are the truth. You are the self. Therefore anything other than that is acquired, and that will be lost. That's all. Bhagavad Gita over now. We can go back and have breakfast and do our work now. You follow? It will be lost. Since we have to live life differently, we started doing so many things. Then came about the relationships. Then came about so many rules and regulations, so many smritis, so many conditions. Another example I will give you, simply digest it. Manu says, Manu Smriti, Manu writes, the youngest son can remarry, the eldest son can remarry the youngest wife of the father. Manu writes in his code, the eldest son can remarry the youngest wife of the father. It means who's marrying whom? It means who's marrying whom? According to today's thing, who's marrying whom? Mother. Oh, thought a very disgusting, no? What is right? What is relationship in this? What is son? What is? It all divides according to the social conditions. When one man had 6 wives and he dies, what happens to the rest? So Manu says, the youngest son can marry and they did it also. They didn't have any problem. Now today you will say, oh, thank God sir, we got rid of Manu. I am not saying we should hold on to him. I am not saying that. I am only saying how the conditioning changes, and all relationships that we say, that we claim as so valuable is a result of just conditioning. So when the conditioning changes, the values also keep changing. You understand?
What is right and wrong?
There is no right, there is no wrong. Truth alone is, that's where I said, angadan confusion vandirthu pona vatti. For this I said, the relationship, the life revolves around the principle of dharma. Since life revolves around the principle of dharma, it all depends upon to what extent you have penetrated and understood what dharma is. That's all. To what extent you have penetrated and you have understood what dharma is and living life accordingly. In the Ramayana, any sage that Rama meets, the first question that he asks is, please teach me what dharma is. Please teach me what dharma is. Because there are infinite subtle nuances to it. Infinite subtle variations to it. So anybody he meets, he kept on asking, teach me what dharma is. Teach me what dharma is. Rama always had a doubt about what dharma is. We don't have a doubt about what dharma is. Just to create a doubt, we have to confuse so much. We have to create such a chaos in thinking. So what Shastras do? They go on unsettling what? What is the job of the Shastras? They have to unsettle you from your conditionings. Not to pamper you and say you are right, you are right, you are right. The job of the Shastras is to unsettle you from your conditions. And me being a pracharak, I have to do that job faithfully. No. So I just add little bit of some extra masala also to it also. You understand? Is it okay till now? Then comes the various titles we have given. Father, mother, uncle, aunt, brother, sister. All these are just names. That's all it is. It has no deeper significance. But the division was made on a principle. It's not just one man simply sat and arbitrarily created all that. 4 stages in a relationship. 4 types of people you encounter in life. 4 types of people you encounter. One is a stranger that you encounter. The second type that you encounter is an acquaintance. The third type that you encounter is equal. 4th you encounter, that is very rarely, is those who are above you. All the relationships is only of these 4 things. One is stranger. Another is acquaintance. Like when you sit in the aircraft, when you sit in the train, there are so many people traveling. All of them what relationship you have with them? What is it called? Strangers. Why you call them strangers? Because there suddenly from that you saw someone who resembles someone of your old thing. Immediately there is a connection. First thing is a stranger. Second is an acquaintance. Acquaintance means situation brings people together and they coexist together, that's all. Once that situation goes, the condition goes, they also go away. A person is working in an organization for 50 years. So many people, he develops so many associations there. That is called acquaintance. This fellow will go for that family's wedding and that guy will come for this family's wedding. That day they retire. Next day no one even. But then you can't say you only went for their wedding, they came for your wedding, you was like so. But then in the deeper, it is only an acquaintance. For 50 years is it possible? Look at your own life. Most of the relationships are it's only that. From that, it gets slightly more. From the stranger, you develop thing, it turns into an acquaintance. From an acquaintance, it turns into a equals. Equals means what? Equal means that's all. You have given something, you have taken something. So the relationship has moved out of that situation to something more. From more of the situation, more of the environment to something what? Personal. Correct. So from acquaintance, it starts turning personal. That's why they say, like, you went to school, you went to college, how many people you would have studied together with? Few hundreds? You won't remember all of them. Even if they have to, now they make so much of effort to reunite. Reunion of 1984 batch. And then you ask, did you really study in that 1984 batch? Yes. But anyway, send your certificate, as a proof of passing, because you don't even. But then, you would have fought for them, they would have fought for you, but it's only, what is that called? Acquaintance, that's all. Most of the relationships falls under strangers and acquaintances. So, from that, it gets slightly more deeper. What is deeper? You get personal. So, the relationship transcends the boundaries of acquaintance. And then the fourth category. What is the fourth category? Those who are above you. Those who are above you means what? Those who are above you means those who served you. Those who served you when you are most dependent, when you are most in need, they served you. Fourth category, very rare. Fourth category, you don't find anyone at all, or very few, except the parents and all is a very poor example of the higher. Even though every parent would like to put themselves in that, I also like to put myself in that category, but they are all very poor examples. What is the nature of service? The nature of service is such that when you serve someone, the other person is incapacitated to understand that you are serving. That's called service. When the teacher is serving the student is incapacitated to understand that he is. When the mother takes care of the child is incapacitated to understand the mother is serving. You understand what service is? The other one is incapacitated to understand. The moment you gain that understanding, then you are different qualitatively. Number 2, those whom you try to serve, you will be seen as a hindrance. Those whom you try to serve, in their eyes, you will be seen as a hindrance. But they continue to serve. That is higher. You understand that? Higher, they paid my school fees, they bought clothes to me. This is not higher. You understand the definition of what higher is? Service. What is service? When someone serves you, you are incapacitated to understand that. When the teacher is talking, he is not talking. He is not giving. We think he is talking, he is giving discourse. What is that? He is serving. That's the way of serving. Which we don't even technique. Not only that, here comes actual difficulty. He himself becomes just as you ask the child, the first hindrance to your freedom, to your enjoyment, the first hindrance. Almost universally, the whole class screamed in answer. Enna sonnanga? You were there, no, in the class. What did they say? Mother. The whole lot saying mother is the hindrance. I wish all mothers were present in that class. They would have shot them down. The child is incapacitated to understand that the mother is. The day you realize that, what happens? The day you realize that, what happens? The day you realize how they have been tirelessly one-sided serving you in spite of you resisting it so much. What happens to you at that point of time? Nanga? You feel like what? You feel like namaskar, that's all. What else you can do? You can't say what you want. What can you do for you? You will not ask. You only feel. You say what? Even thanks is not the. That's where in this culture we don't say thank you at all. There's no thank you. We don't say thank you, thank you. You understand? From 4 categories of relationships. Rarely you encounter the 4th category, but nevertheless there is the 4th. There is the 4th category. You understand? As you see in this, the relationship, the other starts changing by virtue of what? From a stranger, the other person turns into that same person from acquaintance changes into higher langade. That's what it stops. Higher is of a totally different. In this movement, what brought these changes? What brought these changes? What made a stranger into an acquaintance? What brought it? Situation, correct. I like that, the situation. What brought it? What brought the change? You continuously, you are continuing to, it's your thought flow, it's your associate, it's your binding, it's your binding. That's why they say, he is your brother, no? The mother, how the mother tries to inculcate? How the mother tries to inculcate? You all have tried it, no? Have the guts to face it, at least now. Yeah, how much you struggle to inculcate what? Bonding, Because naturally what it is? They are fighting. And then the satisfaction is, now they will fight, but later on they will be they will support each other. How we create this? That's all he said. It is all this is what? All this is created, acquired. There is no. After a period of time, it starts looking so real, so natural, so much of value it has. Confusion starts. What is the confusion? The confusion of Arjuna. What is the confusion? The confusion of Arjuna. Are you able to follow? You cannot not say mine and relate. You cannot say not mine and relate. You have to say, if you have one type of association with your friend, even with your enemy you have an association. Yeah, that's why even when your enemy dies, you will feel slightly hurt, because my enemy has died, no? Something of mine is dead in there. Yeah. Just as when my father dies, something of mine is dead. Similarly, when my enemy dies also, something of this. Either way you have to say mine. My friend or my enemy. You cannot relate without saying, because in mindness there is an inherent wrong notion, a wrong belief, a wrong understanding of ownership. When you say mine, it implies ownership. Why you desperately try to own? This is the flaw. This is the fault. This is the fault. Why you desperately try to own? When you are not owning it, it looks so attractive. It looks so joyful. And you think if you own it, permanently you will be joyful. You own it. And immediately what is lost? That's all it is. When you do not own it, it is so attractive. So attractive as long as you don't own it. So the moment So logically, actually there is no logic in it. It's just ignorance it is. The person thinks, the mind thinks, oh, if I own it, if it is with me all the time, so what it will do? Desperate attempt to own it. As soon as you own it, what happens? Clear. It's gone. Just as the toy looks attractive in the store. The moment you buy it and give it, attraction is lost. When they are in love with each other, it's so attractive, so fine, so wonderful it is. The day they get married, because marriage implies what? In marriage, what is established? Ownership is established. The moment ownership is established, you get, what happens? What happens? The moment ownership is established, joy content is gone. The moment other establishes the ownership over you, what did you lose? Freedom is lost. Suffocation starts. Freedom lost, suffocation starts. But then you somehow carry on because of other compulsions, you try to, you carry on. But nevertheless, in the deepest core, what is the reality? Suffocated, loss of freedom. That's why they say, I want my freedom back. Correct. I want my freedom. Everyone wants to be free. And the only way to be free is not to claim ownership. Then only you become free. The moment you claim ownership, what happens? The moment you claim ownership, what goes out? The freedom goes out. You become a suffocation starts, slavery starts. A slave can never be happy. You can, food is given, dress is given, everything is given, but you are caged. You are caged. A golden cage, all of them, sir. What will you want at that point of time? You will be ready to do anything. Why? Because relationship means we misunderstand it to be ownership. That's why he says there are two attitudes to a relationship. One is a trusteeship attitude, another is a ownership attitude. Two attitudes you can have in a relationship, he says. Always he's been saying that. One is a trusteeship attitude, another is ownership attitude. Trustee means what? Yeah, Jayashree Madla, she will say. Trusteeship means what? You have to take care of it. You have to protect it. You have to do everything. But nothing in that is? Yes, that is trusting, no? Nothing is mine, you can't walk away. You have to safeguard. You have to protect. You need to do everything. But then you cannot say mine. That is trusteeship attitude. Ownership attitude. What is ownership attitude? Mine. That's where love is traded for ownership. They trade love for ownership. And this ownership, the first few days, the first few moments is very joyful, because someone is asking, how are you? Every day morning someone sends a message, how are you? Every night, good night. Dream about me. There's a dream. Waking steadily is so difficult to handle. Even in dreams, why do you have to come and haunt? At least there you can be. Only freedom is dreams. Even there you say dream about me. 3 days it looks. Fourth day, it suffocates. But then you can't turn to the other and say, you are causing suffocation. You can't turn to the other and say, you are causing suffocation. You are suffocated because of what? You are experiencing the suffocation. You are experiencing the slavery because of what? You also did the same thing. You also did the same thing. Are you able to follow now? Is it okay up to this point? Story mother I am trying to develop. Yes, Subramanian. Correct. Yes. 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 That is the most common sense, easiest way of understanding. Body itself is acquired. When you are going to move away from this body, all that is associated with the body is lost. Will be lost. That which is not yours, you cannot. That which is not yours, you cannot. You should not claim as yours. If you say that, what is it called? Something is not yours, and I claim this as mine. What is it called? Theft. Correct. Theft. Stealing is not correct. Stealing. It is not yours. The body itself is not yours. Like when I say the body itself is not yours, tell the body don't get old, it gets old. Tell the hair don't turn grey, it turns grey. Tell the body digest the food, it doesn't digest. What is in this? That is yours. There is no, therefore, in every aspect, the ownership is a false arrogation. The ownership is a false arrogation, it is. It's ignorance. In one word, he calls it as, one word covers up the whole thing. What is that one word? Ignorance. In one word, the entire thing is covered in one word. What is that word? Ignorance. Yes. Yes. That's also lost. Because we need to live. There is no way we can. We need to know. I started by saying the cows need not sit and anything green in color it can eat and survive. Now we can't drink anything. We can't eat anything green in color. We need to sit and need to sit and find out, discover, grow, safeguard. So many things we have to do. For doing all this, intelligence, knowledge, information is required. That's why human beings alone goes through this process of education, because they can survive only like the lions can tear open and eat straight away. Nothing will happen. Here, even if I cook and eat also, something is still happening, and then I say, no, uncooked food is better. I start eating uncooked food. Something else happens, then I go to something else. Because human beings need to, therefore we need to acquire this knowledge. But as you are acquiring it, you become free if you understand what it will be lost. Why you need to understand that it will be lost? Then only there will be a search for something higher will come. Then the thirst comes. Then the thirst for, is there anything that will not be lost? Is there anything that is permanent? The thirst will come then only. Otherwise, we will be hearing so many words about all this, but nothing, no changes happen. All this analysis is for that purpose. Yes, that's where they talk about the impermanency more. Because more you understand the impermanency, a thirst comes for seeking permanency. You start inquiring, you start seeking. Otherwise there is no seeking, there is no inquiry. How to bring in that inquiry? How to bring that seeking? How to do that? All the conditionings has to be discarded. To do that, first you have to be, little bit of unsettlement is needed. You follow what I am saying? Is it okay? So it is very important. What is very important? All that is acquired will be lost. Yes, sir. Yes.
So the knowledge and other things which we acquire,
yes.
Little bit subtle level.
Yes.
If I remember correct, it is correct.
Yes.
It's also carrying as a vasa and other things.
Yes.
So it is not lost in the total form.
Yes.
Still persists and
yes.
they gave us a sort of thing.
Yes.
As rightly said, this attitude will go for a pure person or supplying of magic.
Yes.
It helps.
Correct.
But this knowledge and other things
yes.
not only serve present level, also get carried. So that is the only thing that comes along with the...
Now, if it is your opinion, you are entitled to it. The truth is knowledge carries away. Einstein in his next Janma, will he start as Einstein? What carries away? We don't understand that. That's where we stick to that which we can understand. The moment we shift the whole discussion to that area where we actually can't understand, we need to simply gulp. So when you say knowledge carries, it's not the knowledge that carries. What carries? Vasana carries. What is vasana? You know what vasana is? What is vasana? Ignorance. Sense of unfulfillment. That's all. Sense of unfulfillment. That keeps moving. That is ignorance. That is vasana. That keeps moving. Not the when you say knowledge. Even all these knowledge if you gain, when you leave, this also has to go. What carries with you? What comes along with you? Unfulfillment and ignorance comes with you. So you try to find fulfillment wherever you go. After trying for a few experiments, you understand it doesn't. Maybe I come to the wrong place, you leave this and go in search of something else. So therefore, knowledge doesn't get carried away. What gets carried away is the unfulfillment, the intensity of unfulfillment. That is the seed, that is the vasana. Only knowledge comes with you, they say. Everything else will go away. Only knowledge comes with you. Now, what knowledge? They think all the acquired degrees will come. What knowledge will come? To whatever extent you have penetrated to understand the source of this unfulfillment, that comes. If you mean knowledge to mean that comes. To whatever extent you have penetrated, penetrated, that comes. That comes. Why that comes? Because that is real, that is permanent, that comes, that you cannot get rid of. In the 7th chapter, Arjuna asks this question, very, very weird question he asks. After hearing about Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, Karma Sannyasa Yoga, beautiful description of all that, he asks a question which is totally irrelevant to the entire thing. He says, suddenly he says, Krishna, I understand all that you are saying, I am following also. Halfway through, if I die, what will happen to me? Krishna would have felt like saying, die? Now only. Yeah. Halfway through, if I die, what will happen to me? Where it will? Because he has been saying all this will go, but what happens to, and if this also goes, Nahi kalyana krit kaschit durgatim tata gacchati. He explains the concept. Kalyana krit means doer of, kalyana means not marriage, yeah? Kalyana means good, auspicious, welfare. Doer of good, durgati. He never goes to durgati, Arjuna. What are you asking? Halfway through, if I die, what will happen? Halfway through, if I meet with an accident, what will happen? What questions are you asking? And Arjuna is not in a position to understand the concept. So he goes into a graphic description. What is the graphic description? You will be born in a family of wise yogis. You will be born in the richest person this. You will be born this. You will be born that. So that you can continue. Abada. Some satisfaction. He will not understand anything. You follow what I am saying? Therefore, all that is acquired will be lost. It can be any knowledge. It can be, but what you will not lose, what you don't lose, that penetrating capacity you have developed to understand, to cut through ignorance, to see through the ignorance, that will not go. And we do nothing to attend to this and do everything else. And then say, it will continue. Now what continues? Ignorance alone continues. சரியா? Is it okay? Yes, sir. Yes. Bharat. Yes. 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 It is that unfulfillment that creates yes. Yes, it creates evolution. Yes. Yes. Yes, it is acquired. The growth is not acquired. Growth is inherent. Evolution is inherent. Just as if the unicellular organism is happy and complete in itself, why it will become bicellular? If it is complete in itself, if that fulfillment is there, the very process of evolution implies there is a deep unfulfillment. Otherwise, evolution is not possible. And that evolution, that unfulfillment, the human being starts seeking, starts inquiring, starts creating to find fulfillment. When science says the unfulfillment can be achieved by finding fulfillment in the world, Vedanta says it can be found only in the true knowledge. Otherwise, unfulfillment is common. Unfulfillment is the base. If unfulfillment is not there, why evolution itself happens? Like, by unicellular organism is so complete in itself, but then what you don't see is the sense of unfulfillment that makes it to move, grow, evolve, expand. All evolution is aimed towards expansion because it's so, that form is so restricting, that form is so constricting. So evolution means expansion. That's the definition of Brahman. The word Brahman means ever expanding. Word Brahman means ever expanding. Ever expanding now, where does it end? You cannot ask as a question, but you can experience and understand. You are right. Is it okay? Yes, sir. Subramanian.
Very much the knowledge. I have knowledge.
Yes. Yes.
Will also be lost sometimes.
Yes, the memory of it will be lost. See, I can lose the memory of the verses. I can lose the memory of all that. What I will not lose? What I will not lose? That penetrating capacity I have developed, that I will not lose. But I can lose the memory of. I can suddenly ask, what is that verse? Nahi Kalyana. I can keep, but if that penetrating capacity that I develop, that will not be lost. All these are words. The words will be lost. That bound to lose. What will not be lost is that penetrating capacity. That penetrating capacity is what he keeps saying it as intellect. That penetrating capacity, that will not be lost. That you cannot lose. But you lose everything else. Because when we say knowledge, it's memory. When we say knowledge, it's memory. Storehouse of information. And somewhere down the line, it is bound to deteriorate, it is bound to lose. Like the man was a very good musician that man was. He was lying down on the bed, that grandfather, 100 years, on his 100th birthday. They have to tell him who I am. Not that he is listening also, because he can't even, he opens his eyes and looks. Out of my ignorance, I will think he is looking at me. He is not looking at me, he is simply looking. That's all. You follow what I am saying? It is bound to lose. The metaphoric changes, no. Birth, growth, disease, decay, death. Birth, growth, disease, decay, death. Birth, growth, disease, decay, death. What is exemption from this? You understand? Is it okay? நீங்க என்னமோ கேட்டல இல்லையா இல்லன்னு தப்பிச்ச இல்லன்னா finished. நீங்க ஏதா கேட்டல
So what in the theory of reincarnation, they say when a person dies, suppose he's a musician, a sickness and all that, and at a very early age there are studies for it.
Yes.
So we say they have acquired it because of the past.
Yes.
But again here what we have to interpret it is, it's not that he is born knowing the story,
Yes.
but the penetrative capacity is there. So the environment will come up as again as a strength.
The vasanas will look for a conducive environment. That's all. There is no permanency to it. It's still acquired. Just because it is being carried over doesn't mean anything. It is still acquired, because at some point of time that man will lose his interest in music and get into maybe doing business, maybe share market, maybe gambling. He might even end up maybe as a terrorist. It means what? It keeps. See, just because it is getting carried over, or just because something is staying for 60, 70 years, means nothing. Nevertheless, the law doesn't change. It is acquired, it will be lost. That's all. The law doesn't change. It can happen within one embodiment, it can happen between embodiments. Doesn't matter. And to stretch it to the next birth, previous birth, Allah, it's not that it's a wrong thing. It needs that much penetrating. It means that much penetrating capacity is required. Because if you say next birth, or if you say previous birth, you can't do this analysis in bits and pockets. You need to do this analysis completely. If you do this analysis completely, what will happen? You'll become detached now. Imagine not you, I can't say you, imagine me. There is a father, there is a mother, there is a wife, there is a daughter, there is so many associations, so many relationships, all look so real, so vital, so important, and I am ready to do anything and everything for that. Can you imagine that I was doing the same thing to a different set of people, unconnected now? That's why we don't talk about theory of reincarnation at all. Your carpet will be taken out. You will be left in the vacant air. And we think theory of reincarnation means going to Saravana Bhavan, having a breakfast and going back. People talk about reincarnation as though it is something so simple. They go to a restaurant, have one. Straight after the class you can go there only. Pattappa, Puttappa, something, I don't know what it is. You follow what I am saying? So when you when you do this analysis in relation to reincarnation, you need to take the complete facts. And if you take the complete facts, you will become detached. Now, like Lord Rama and Yoga Vasishtha, you will become. Like Lord Rama and Yoga Vasishtha, you will become. He went and said, no, how many fathers I have had in the past, how much more I am going to have in the future. In that long line of fathers, Dasharatha, you are one, and I am not going to waste my time with you. In the long chain of mothers, how many mothers I have had in the past, how much more I am going to have in the future, I don't know. In that long chain, you are one. If you understand that, you become. See, all this knowledge, the understanding that you have understood it correctly it makes you free now. All this, if you understand, it will make you free. It's not that freedom is going to have you understand now and then you suffer out of this understanding for 20 years and then you become free. You understand, you become free. Become free now. Even relatively also you become free. You follow what I am saying? Become free now. Therefore, when you say it carries over. What carries over? The sense of unfulfillment carries over. What he thought is music vasanas. Big deal. He thought he can find fulfillment by music. Will not find it. Drop it and go into something else. That's all. How does it, just because it carried from one to the next, how did the concept go wrong? Still the same. Because that also keeps changing. If you can say, no, for eternities, is it possible for a man to have music vasanas alone? Yes? No? Maybe? What is your answer? Fourth answer, I don't know. Only 4 choices. Yes, no, maybe, I don't know. Anjav choice tarla. What is it? Can a single vasana, a single desire be retained for eternities? Try that. You have so many desires. No. From that desire, pick one and say, from that desires that you have, pick one. I have tried all this. That's why I am saying. I said, okay, desireless, at least from these desires, pick one and say, only this, try it. You cannot. Because the law doesn't, you hold it, you are for it, it is so attractive because you have not yet. It's attractive as long as you don't acquire it. The moment you acquired it, it's gone. You say, what a talent, what a music, what a this, and that person says, big deal, nothing. You say, oh no, so great you are. That person says, I am ready to trade this for something. Yes, you are ready to trade this for something else, and that man is also ready to trade that for something else. It means what? Fundamentally there is something, unfulfillment, and that unfulfillment continues. To whatever extent I have penetrated into trying to understand what is the nature of this unfulfillment, to that extent that continues. That will continue. Why that continues is because that is the truth. That is the reality. That is dharma. Is it okay? In relationship, again I have to conclude. Now next week I don't want to continue with this. So boring this relationship stories are. You serve those who are incapacitated to understand that you are serving. Just as the child cannot understand it is being served. The child cannot understand it. One day it will understand. It's not that it will never understand. One day it will understand. That's why in psychology they say, you start loving your parents only after you become a parent. And it is true also. Yeah, compared to the trouble that what I gave to my father and what my daughter gives to me, she looks like an angel. Compared to the trouble that I gave. So when I look at him now, I think, oh my God, how he managed? This only I am not able to. You follow what I am saying? It's not that you don't understand, but at that point of time, it looked like hindrance. The higher is always seen as that's the law. With this I want to conclude. The higher will be seen as a hindrance. That's how somehow we try to escape from the higher. Somehow we try to escape the higher, because the higher is always a hindrance to our. The higher is always a hindrance to our dash. Therefore, somehow we try to make sure that we escape the higher. What is that? Likes and dislikes. One word. Happiness. Freedom. Attachment. Kunjam close. Mindness. The higher. That's why I gave all the example stories and then trying to explain the concept. The higher is always seen as a hindrance to the child sees the mother as a hindrance. For what? For what? Freedom. Freedom land. Hindrance it sees. From what? What the mother is doing that the child sees the mother as a hindrance. Derive the concept from this. Number? conditioning. Indulgence. Indulgence. The child wants to indulge. The higher says full stop. That's all. The child wants to indulge. Freedom, slavery, conditioning, idallam borrowed knowledge. Yeah, go by your own experiences of life. The child sees the mother as a hindrance because what the mother is doing? Frustrating, restraining. Because the lower wants to indulge, the higher says no. And when you say no, you will be persecuted, you will be disliked, you will not be wanted. But nevertheless, they continue doing it out of just love, just compassion. That's all. So one-sided it is. It's so one-sided. That man will not have any problem in relationships. Therefore, all relationships to survive, what you need to learn? One-sided. One-sided. That's the fourth category. One-sided it is. That's it. What the other does is their problem. From your side, you just go on doing. You understand? Here, there is no preferential relationship you will have after that. When you come to the fourth, there will not be any preferential relationship. The entire creation you get related to. Otherwise, relationships are always seen as something in a very narrow, preferential way. And the four categories: stranger, acquaintance, equal. Don't ask me எந்த bookல இருக்கு இதெல்லாம், where you read, which book I can go and read லாம் கேட்காதீங்க. I don't know. I'm just saying அவ்வளவுதான். You understand? These are the four. The whole thing becomes the entire thing becomes part of you, because you have learnt the way of relationship. You have learnt the technique of relationship. You know how to relate. How to relate? One-sided. So, love is one-sided. It has to be one-sided. The moment I say, I have loved you, what have you done to me in return? It's gone. No. I have given you. So much I have given you. What have you done to me in return? What is gone? Giving is gone. Therefore, all these things in life is always one-way traffic. From you, it keeps. Just as the rose gives fragrance, whoever passes by gets it. Whoever passes by gets it. But in the rose, there is no preferences. The moment you get into preferences, what makes you to develop this preferential relationship? A sense of ownership. Why you want to develop this ownership is because of the wrong belief that the moment you own it, happiness is. I see the car in the garage, so beautiful a car, so nice a car, test drive also I do, and I think what, if that car is parked in my name registered also, happiness. The moment that ownership comes, Ramatirtha gives a beautiful example. He says, to enjoy the lawn, you need not own it, he says. To enjoy the beauty of the lawn, you need not own it. Because the owner has to go through all the trouble of maintaining it. You simply enjoy it. Who is the owner? who created it. He takes care. Why do you have to? Who's the owner? Who's the owner? The word Swami, one of the meaning of the word Swami means owner. He is the owner. Since he is the owner, leave it to him. That's what in the poem, Two Hermits. He says, the two hermits, no? என்ன poem பாது? எனக்கு memory போச்சு, knowledge போச்சு. Olive tree, correct. Olive tree. Two saplings. He who made it knew better than a man. Leave it to the rightful owner to take care. From your side, do your part. Avladhan. From your side, do your part. You are free now. Freedom is now. Freedom is not something that you are going to get later. If freedom is what you are going to get later, now it's not worth trying all this, because there is no guarantee that you will. If it can be achieved now, it's worth it. Try it. I summarize the whole thing. The law. All acquired will be lost. Vasanas are acquired, that's why it is lost. It can stay for 200 years, doesn't mean anything. Like, there are species, like some tortoises live for 250 years, no. Longevity doesn't mean anything. Longevity doesn't mean permanency. In fact, it's more frustrating only. Simply longevity for what? It's only frustrating. Is it okay? All that is acquired will be lost. Self exists. God exists. Self exists. That will not be lost. That's where the fundamental point of Vedanta is, you have never lost it. You have never lost it. You have forgotten about it. That's all. There is a difference between the two. Losing and, he says, you are the self, you have not lost it, but you have forgotten your nature. Get back. Because you can never lose it. Everything else down the line will be lost. What will be lost? All the acquisitions will be lost. All the so-called relationships will be lost. Everything will be lost. Just as how many things you have lost in this one lifetime itself. Why forget about death and this thing? How many things you have lost in this lifetime itself? When you are in 5th standard, so close that friend was. Now you can't even remember the name. It is even in this you keep, because the nature of life is such that what? The nature of life is such that you cannot own anything. The nature of life is such that you can experience it, you can enjoy it, but you cannot own it. He is a sannyasi. This is sannyas. A person who enjoys, who experiences, who enjoys, but doesn't claim. And world needs many sannyasis like that. Even one or two is enough to inspire the whole lot. Seriya? வெள்ளை கலர்ல வாட்ச் கட்டின்னு இருக்கிற வெள்ளை கலர்ல வாட்ச் கட்டின்னு இருக்கிற
In the mind also occurred things.
Yes. That will,
then that should automatically go there.
that will not go automatically. Yes. Because you are not attached to the object, you are attached to
the relation.
You are attached to the notion of ownership, you are attached to. You are not attached to the object, you are attached to the notion of ownership.
So actually, it's an incident. Somebody is saying an incident. Anybody could get that. But nobody is suffering
Because of
any relationship.